Previously, they were sort of on a pay-as-you-go situation, and they only really paid directly for the programming that they did. Now they have a minimum commitment just like all of the other members do. And finally, we did have a very significant staff turnover in August of 2022. We had 50% of our full-time staff turnover. We were able to promote from within, so that was really nice. The transition went very smoothly, but that was a significant sort of hurdle for us in 2022. Next slide, please. So just to review your programming. No? There we go. In 2022, the borough sponsored 24 council meetings, a public hearing on the short-term rental ordinance, and 1 Spring Creek Watershed Commission meeting for a total of 26 programs. Next. That basically represented last year 4.8% of all of the programming by all of our member organizations. 2021 was 4.9%, so sort of very much the same, very little fluctuation from year to year. This graph shows you the past 5 years of programming. So you can see it's really very, very close. I think 2021 was one of the higher years, and 2022 is right up there. So what's really important is that your programming is very consistent, and that helps to control your member dues. If there are big fluctuations, you might get to a year where you have a huge year, and that's really going to affect you a few years down the line with your dues. But your programming is very consistent in that. That's very, very good for that. So when we look at the past 5 years, 2018 to 2022, we're looking at 4.8% of all of the programming was sponsored by all of the CNET members. Here's my trivia question. How many CNET members are there? Good, 16. That's close enough. I'll take that as a win. The previous 5-year period of time between 17 and 21 was virtually the same, 4.83%. So there's that consistency again. And again, that's important because when we determine your dues, we look at 5 years of programming in order to come up with that figure. Next. So here are all of those members over the 5-year period of time of 2018 to 2022, and I have that red arrow pointing down to Bellefonte Borough. So you're sort of on probably the lower end of the usage of most of our municipalities and school districts. Not at the very bottom, but I think for the amount of programming that you do, that's pretty much right on track. Next, I wanted to just remind you all the different ways remind you and your audience of all the different ways that they can watch CNET programming. So on Channel 7, the council meetings are televised Wednesday at 9:30 p.m., Friday at 2 a.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sunday at 4 p.m. The meetings are streamed live, God and technology willing, on YouTube, and our YouTube channel is CNET Center County. And we then put the programs online on our website, which is cnet1.org, and the online programs are indexed by agenda item, which is really a very handy way to watch. Next slide, please. This is an exciting part. We are available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And what we have done to try to make viewing on those platforms a little easier is the staff has created brief video tutorials on our website that walks you step by step. So if you have Apple TV at home and you want to find CNET on it, you simply watch one of those tutorials and it'll walk you through every step you need to take in order to find CNET on those different platforms. So that's really very handy. Next. Now, as many of you know, from year to year, I tell you I'm not ever able to give you any information about cable television viewing. That's considered proprietary data, and the cable companies will not give me that information. But I can tell you about the number of people just who are watching online. So for your meetings, in the 14-month period of January of 22 to March of 23, you had an average of 120.5 views per meeting, and then an additional 78 views per meeting on YouTube. So that combined total is nearly 200 views per meeting, 198.5. Now just keep in mind, this is not TV, it is only online, but that's a fairly significant number compared to your population. So you certainly do have an engaged citizenry. I guess finally, I wanted to just do a little promotion about our candidate interviews. I know a lot of you have participated. We conduct candidate interviews every primary and general election. We invite every candidate in all of our member municipalities and school districts, state and federal offices, county offices. We use local journalists to conduct the interviews, and they're televised on our channels and uploaded to our website. So we're very proud of what we do with candidate interviews. When I talk to other access stations around the country, nobody even tries this. I mean, there'll be one municipality, they'll do one school district. You know, we did 50 interviews this past primary in 2 days. So other stations don't try this, but we've been doing it a lot of years. And, you know, we have 30 years of doing it. So we think we really have the system down pretty well. The candidates come every 15 minutes and they got to get in the chair and get out of the chair. But 'tis the season. So if you haven't watched them before you vote, you probably should. Less than 24 hours to do that. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take questions. I kept it short and sweet.
One question. When you talk about Chantel Communications, you said that it's a base fee rather than a fee on each per subscribers. Right. And then you then said that the municipality has an annual dues fee. Will this Chantel base fee be added to our dues fee, or how is that going to be paid for in terms of us getting the Chantel set up?
Okay. Bear with me. You receive from cable companies what are called franchise fees.
Right.
And it's 5% of the gross revenue of that cable company within your municipality. That's your franchise fee.
Okay.
What Comcast does is, in order to pay CNET capital money,
okay,
they put approximately 32 cents on every subscriber's bill every month. It's called a PEG fee. You'll see it listed there. They collect that money and they send it to the municipality, and the municipality turns around and sends it to us.
Right.
The municipality is simply a pass-through.
Right.
That is for our capital purchases. So those are very different things.
Okay.
Now, Chantel has no customers. So if we said, okay, we'll take 32 cents per subscriber per month, the amount would be zero. Because they're a new cable company in the area, so we couldn't do that.
Okay.
So instead of trying to do that, we came up with an amount of money based on population that they would send to CNET for a number of years until they have enough customers that PEG fee would equal what they're sending us.
So let me reword that a little bit.
Okay.
So that PEG fee that is on our current subscribers through Comcast, that's the pass-through. With Chantel, what will happen is Chantel will directly pay you. You won't go through the borough at all for that.
No, it goes through the borough.
So they're going to send us like a $3,000 check.
That's
and
right.
Then we just forward it on to
Yep.
them. Okay.
Yep.
That's what I needed to
For
know.
the capital.
For the capital.
Now, the franchise fee is based on customers and
Right.
subscriptions
Right.
and all that, the revenue. The far as our revenue, that we have a annual fee for CNET to cover these programs.
And that was the other part of the question, is that, so those are two separate things. That was
Okay.
what I was trying to clarify.
Okay.
Are they required to have you guys show your CNET part? Is for CNET to get involved with this new system?
Are they required to have CNET on their system? They are required to negotiate with municipalities, and the municipalities can negotiate to have CNET in that franchise. Cable companies generally do not balk at having public education and government stations in their franchise. Usually a lot of the negotiation has to do with how much they're going to provide for capital. I mean, and the thing about them providing the capital is that your member dues, you don't pay a dime of capital. I mean, if we didn't have that money, the municipalities and the school districts that fund us would be looking at about another $50,000 in member dues altogether.
And that's what we spent the whole time on the consortium contract last time,
Long
was
time,
that
yep.
specific piece of the contract.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good. Okay.
Any other questions?
Cindy,
A couple extra.
no, I just wanted to, did you
Oh,
want to
oh,
mention
yeah.
everybody about,
At your seats, you'll find your bedtime reading. You'll see pictures of a lot of people you know in there. But that is our annual report. It basically contains everything about the year, and then there's a really nice history in the back that when new members join, or we sort of begin with a new initiative, like when we started streaming and things like that, we include that in the history. But again, there are a lot of pictures of people that you are familiar with. So, okay, well, thank you. Thanks so much. Pleasure. You bet. Yep.
Take care, Steve.
Take care.
Okay, we'll move on to item C, which is EV charging stations. A little history. We asked borough staff to make some recommendations through a work session, or until we had this work session, about options for EV charging stations in the borough. So I'm going to let Ralph or Dawn take the floor and explain what you think is a good idea,
Well,
or how we came to that.
well, I can summarize it. Dawn can fill in the details. It's very expensive to go back and reconfigure the stations that we have. So we don't think that's an option. It's just way too expensive, plus monthly fees. So I think we could either leave them as is, we could take them out, or we could install a standard parking meter in the stall, and then as patrons come in, they would feed that meter, and we'd have to change the ordinance a little bit to make that clear, and keep people in compliance. And have a system for non-compliance according to the ordinance. But really, I think that's the cost-effective choices that council has. The other programs are simply too costly, either upfront or the monthly fees and maintenance and app fees, or whatever you may call them. We would never break even, or almost never. We would lose money each month for having the system in place if we tried to put in either a new system or convert the old system. You want to add anything?
we've contacted, I think, a couple different vendors. We had, where we Zoomed with two separate vendors to talk to them about retrofitting the current, EV charging stations. The price tag for both of them was in the range of $15,000 to $20,000 to retrofit. We're looking at basically approximately $180 a month that we're paying in electricity for the EV charging station. So if you just did your return on investment on on that, you would see that, you know, it almost take anywhere between 7 and 10 years to get back just the money to pay for the retro. And that doesn't count that, you know, you have, as Ralph mentioned, you have additional expenses. So we checked with Civic Smart is who our single space meters work with. We already, when we purchased those, we purchased 270 meters. We have about 234 meters that are active right now. So we have a number of meters that, you know, were backups and things like that. So we're only looking at installing 8 meters. After talking with Civic Smart, they can program them any way that you want. So we would probably maybe not even do coin. It would just be simply credit card perhaps. But if you wanted to set it up so that they're paying $2 per hour, that would be equivalent to $1 an hour that everybody pays in the municipal lot. Then they would be paying $1 an hour for the electricity. But the number is up to you if you want to go in that direction. That would be the, you know, that's what we're saying is up to council to make the determination should you want us to install an additional 8 meters. We have to fix our ordinance, our parking ordinance, which we're working on anyway because we have to with the district magistrate for other reasons. So if we were to come to council at the next meeting with an ordinance that's fixed and to advertise, the second meeting in June would be to approve it, probably by, I would say, that would be the same time frame. We'd be looking at mid-July before these meters would be programmed and we'd have them actually installed with our Public Works Department.
I would just add, you know, what Dawn's describing, or what we're trying to say, the system that's effective is a very manual system in that someone uses a credit card to feed the meter, then of course we have to have an enforcement officer go by and see that either the meter is being charged or someone's paying for that space or not. There's no automatics. That the systems that you buy, retrofit, or put in new and pay the so much per month, those are automatic.
Yes.
Like as soon as your credit card time runs out, the power is cut off and that's the end. It's over. So, but you know, if you have minimal use and you, like Dawn said, you have electric bill and then the cost of the apps, the cost of putting the thing in place to start with, or the retrofit, you're looking at, you know, thousands of dollars, and then hundreds of dollars on a month, you know, over a year, that you gotta make more revenue out of these meters than those costs. It's almost, I don't see how it's possible. But I just want, you know, we could go down the path of putting in the meters, but it's not a perfect path. It has its own issues, because it's very manual. Like someone charges at night, we don't typically have an officer out at night. Someone's got to go by, and you know, a municipal police officer or somebody has to go by and find that a vehicle is out of compliance, not paying the meter.
So these meters would be 24/7.
We would write
enforced,
we would write it as such.
Yes.
And you know, the council would approve that ordinance. And if that's how it is, then the next part, like almost anything, it comes down to enforcement.
Mm-hmm. And we'd have to suggest during those off hours that our municipal police monitor those.
Yes.
We'd have to, again, we would make that recommendation to the mayor, who would pass that information along to the patrol officers.
What's the downside, Ralph and Don? What's the downside to putting in the meters that we've already purchased to coincide with trying to recoup some of the money for vehicle charging that we've already had for how many years? You know, we've had these EV charger stations in our municipality for several years.
Yeah.
We've repaired them to the tune of thousands of dollars when they were hit. What's the downside to trying to?
I don't think
collect?
there is one.
Okay.
Can I?
No, I was just waiting for that.
Ralph mentioned the only downside is it's manual
Sure,
enforcement,
yeah.
but you're getting more out of it than you're
Yeah.
getting now. So, and it's
Yeah,
the cheapest,
and-
most.
All enforcement's that way, really. You know, we would just ask and hope that, you know, it would be a positive maybe at some point. So I just wondered if is there a lot of cost in putting these meters in the ground
There-
and paying our guys to go do it?
There is some cost,
Yeah.
and there's a cellular fee cost, but it's on a
Okay.
monthly basis, just like all the parking meters.
Yeah, they're newer type meters.
Yeah,
the ones I see.
they have a cellular connection,
Okay.
and then there's probably some maintenance that goes with them. But that's the only
Yeah, the
downside.
battery would just need.
Same as our meters.
Same as everything, that would just work the same way.
All right.
So currently, those parking spaces are signed that they're for electric vehicle charging only, unless the parking lot is full, and then anybody can park there. If we were to do this, would these be switched over to just electric charging vehicles only?
It's up to council. The thing that we're gonna,
Because, the reason I'm asking
Yeah.
is because if you've got the meters there, and you say you have to feed the meters, I
Yeah.
would,
well,
let me finish.
okay, let's go.
Yeah, I think it might end up being confusing that they've got the kiosk and anybody who doesn't have an electric vehicle parks there, sees that meter, and they may not understand that it's specifically for electric vehicles. So I think it may call, unless you just dedicate those particular spots to electric vehicles. That's why I'm asking.
It is confusing, could be confusing.
Will be confusing.
Will be confusing. It's
But they will
not,
pay the premium price to
Yeah.
park in that stall, whether they're EVs or not.
So there needs to be some, whatever we do then, and what I'm basic thing is there need that, whatever signage we put, either it's only for electric vehicles, or it clearly states that if you park here, you pay the extra price.
Right.
Well, I think if they're right now only electric car parking spaces.
no.
No, they're
No,
not.
they're not?
No.
Okay.
If the lot's
Only if the
full.
lot is full.
Yeah.
If the lot is full and there's no other parking places, then
Yeah.
a non-electric car can park in
Got
those
the
spaces.
confusion,
Can.
yeah.
They are signed right now.
Yeah, sure, that's gonna be confusing.
Yeah, but I think
So,
with proper signage, and that may take a little tweaking, I think we can get this. I
So
like
these
the
are
idea.
then, the way I'm looking at this, you have the charger, the gun, you put in your car to charge it. So what sets that off? The meter, when you put your money into the meter?
Well, right now, it's on.
It's
It's
just on.
period
It says
on. So if
so
you're
I could
using
pull in there and not pay anything. and
today,
After 8
Yes.
PM tonight until 8 AM tomorrow morning?
well, pull into the lot. Now that the thing is on, the charging, the EV station is on. So I guess you plug it into your car and then it's on.
And it talks to the car and it starts
Yeah,
charging.
so this will still be on. Well, if we're gonna go down the path of what we're describing, the meter needs to be fed. The parking meter needs to be fed. That's the only difference.
But it needs to be fed, but if they don't feed it, they can still charge their car.
If they
Yes.
don't
Yeah,
feed
but
it,
that's when they get ticketed.
yeah,
Right, it's
they
no-
would be,
No different than you can park in a stall and not put money in the meter.
Yeah,
it's the same
We're-
idea.
We're beating this up.
Yes.
I
Let's
just
put the
want to
meters in
clarify,
and maybe collect some money for the.
because I thought originally when we
Charging
talked
is-
about it, that meter would then start that charger.
there are systems, Randy,
just-
we're trying to tell
Just too
you,
expensive.
those systems are too expensive. You will not get a return.
Okay, I got it.
Yes.
It just that wasn't explained that way when you
Okay.
explained it. I get what you're saying.
Yes, that's what we're calling a retrofit. Simply, that's what it is. It doesn't automatically start to, turn the power on, turn it off with a meter. A retrofit would, but it's very expensive.
It's not cost effective
Yeah,
for
so
us
it's
at
not
all.
cost
The one thing that we would do with these meters is we can tell each individual meter how much money they bring in. So if you estimate $2,100 a year in electricity, after 1 year, we could look at it and determine how much, of the $2,100 we got back.
So, just FYI, for the last 2 weeks, every evening, my husband has been going to the parking lots and checking the meters to see if we can get a better estimate. He says he doesn't have enough data yet to give us a good idea, but he said he's going to continue that so that we can have that information for costs. So he's done all 8 plugs every evening for the past 2 weeks.
Okay. We do have a single meter hooked up to the north lot.
Yes, but
feeds
he's
the
also doing for the
stations.
ones that's
Okay.
not that as well.
Yes. The other one,
That's the only way we're estimating right now is the 4 the four that we have in the north lot
Yeah.
is on one meter. There isn't any other electricity that's used for anything else other than those. So, and we know how much we pay for the meter, so that gives us the estimate on electricity, and then we're just using those same numbers to apply to the other two lots.
So is it possible to put timers on the meters? To just-
Well-
Actually, not the meters, but onto the charger.
That's a retrofit.
That's a
what we looked
retrofit.
into.
Well, but it's just a timer. I mean,
No, it's a gizmo. I mean, and you work it with an app. I mean, that's what we're talking
No,
about.
I'm
See,
talking about it shuts the power off until like from 8 to 8 or whatever it is that.
That's what Ralph explained was way too expensive at
Well,
this time.
so somebody, we could put in a, breaker switch, just like you have for your furnace or
Well,
whatever.
I'm talking about a timer. The timer would shut off once you set it. To either, shut off or when it comes on. And so if you're worried about people coming in at night and charging their cars at night and nobody's kind of overseeing it,
There would be a retrofit, probably wouldn't be as expensive. You're talking, a breaker that's on a timer, like all of our downtown lights are on different timers. It can be done, probably, hundreds of dollars per station probably. And that's only if we maybe try to do something internally, but potentially it's possible.
what's the voltage in these chargers?
It's not much. Well, I think like 220. But,
You get timers in there, Ralph, they're 200 maybe?
Yes, there's a piece of conduit comes up, we'd have to put it on the pedestal somehow. That's a possibility. And if you're worried about charging overnight, that is a potential solution. Put a timer in that shuts the power off.
Other comments?
Would that, I understand what you're suggesting, but would that preclude somebody who wants to charge their vehicle overnight and is willing to pay the
Right.
$2 an hour?
They would, it's
Yes.
either gonna be on or off.
Because then,
Yeah.
then you would
Yeah.
be,
Penalizing.
you would be penalizing people who want to pay to use that service
Yes.
off hour.
Yeah, there's no easy solution, no simple solution.
But is it possible to try it on 24 hours for a certain amount of time and see if we can kind of figure out how that's working? It's not a perfect system, but figure
Yeah.
out how well that's working and see
Yeah.
if we do need to tweak
Yeah,
it
that would
then.
be, we're putting in the meters and going that
Yeah,
route.
we just want
Would
to,
be
we
the
have to
first
start
step.
somewhere.
I guess that's my point,
I
sure.
personally would be opposed to doing the shut-off because most people who have an electric car or a plug-in electric, they charge at night in order to be able to drive to work the next morning. And we do have a few people here in the borough that do use the park because they live in houses that have no garages or places to charge like I do. And as a result, you may be hurting our residents who need that service. I would prefer having the meters,
Just do
the
it
plugs
20.
on all the time to make sure that those residents get the services they need.
It would
Shouldn't they bring their
also,
own service in?
What I'm saying.
You're actually, because I think that's been planned already in the survey about having chargers put in the residential areas, and I'm just not sure if I'm.
Right now, we only have them in municipal parks. There are some communities that do put them in residential areas. I don't know if that would be appropriate here or not, but what we've got right now are the plugs, and we do have, I know, a couple of people that do use them at night so that they can get to work the next morning. I think having those putting the meters in, having them pay 24/7 gives them the ability to do that, and it doesn't hurt our residents who need that, who because of where they live in town, just literally cannot have a garage to charge their own car on their own property.
And they might be in an apartment.
Yes,
And don't have
exactly.
that ability.
Yeah.
it would also be a benefit to guests to our community who are staying here for a day or two, who may have an electric vehicle
Yeah.
and need to charge, so.
That's the problem of not having an infrastructure to.
Well, we have to go with what we have now, so we're just trying to accommodate what we have
When
now.
we started this originally, I suggested the networking, and at that point in time, we thought it was too expensive, so we went with the cheap version, and now this is where we're at.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so-
it's okay. I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
okay. I
right.
think it's a good start.
So,
Thanks for that presentation. I mean, what's on the agenda tonight is straightforward and simple. If we try to keep it that way, maybe it's not going to happen till July. But maybe by August or September, we'll be able to have this discussion about cheaper and better and whatever.
Right.
I mean, this doesn't sound like a cheap option. I mean, these things have cost us a lot of money when we start doing the math, right?
Yeah.
And we have no way of knowing how much money
Right.
they've cost us because we're not charging, we're not collecting that. But just to service them or fix them, right? How much was that? A couple thousand,
You
5,000?
mean when?
They were broke and we had to
Oh,
fix them?
Yeah, I think it was $4,000.
Yeah.
For,
So that's not cheap by any means for a borough council that's strapped. So if the
Well, the
meters that we
center
already
sounds
have are gonna cost us very little to put
Yeah.
in, I don't understand the discussion past that. That's what's on the agenda tonight. It sounds like a great idea that I think we'll all agree on. You know, manual shut-off switches and all that other stuff is not even, I think we can consider that at a later date if that need be, but just putting the meters on and.
sure.
Get
know.
started.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might actually be pleased with the outcome. Who knows?
Yep. Any other comments? If not, we're going to move on. Okay. So we'll address that hopefully in the business meeting. There is a action item in the business meeting for the EV charging stations. So we're at item D, is the climate action plan. And Joanna, I'm assuming that's for you?
Yeah, we did, as I said at the last meeting, the survey has been completed. We've started analyzing it. You have all asked for a presentation on the climate action plan and the survey. There's a lot of information there. What we want you to do is just a little bit of brainstorming to tell us what kind of things you want us to see so we can pull that out to give you the presentation that you want. And that was why Alyssa, in the thing, said, please look over the climate action plan before this evening so you could get a general idea of what's there, and then you can give us details so that we can then go back and craft the PowerPoint presentation for you for hopefully the first meeting in June.
I would rather just see the survey review rather than the whole program. I think we have the ability to go back in. I mean, that's an awful lot to look at. So I think the surveys right now are the more important things, that we need to see what the residents are looking at.
Are we going to see all of the surveys, like not
Just the survey questions with the
not
number of people.
compiled by you guys, but the actual surveys themselves? Are we able to see those?
yes,
Yes.
remember Julie said she can scan those individually, and if you want all that information.
So you
Rita-
actually want to see every single survey?
Yeah, that's possible. We
Yeah,
can
I
easily
would like
do
to see
that.
those as well.
Let's just, what we're talking about is the results of the survey that we
Right.
Spent all this time and effort talking about, just the results of the survey.
Well, Julie
Right.
has the results and she has the
Right.
survey. We can send out every
Right.
survey, everyone that we the respondents was about 228 or
Yeah.
something.
Generally speaking, the results, the percentage of people who are interested in this and the percentage of people who are interested in that.
Well,
Well,
I
I'd
would
like to see comments that
Yeah,
people
sure.
had, and I,
We
you
were-
know,
we
so
were-
I don't want to, I would like to see the originals, just so, I'm not saying that anybody would do this, but, you know, I want to see what everybody says.
I
and
I
not
think
just-
that goes to transparency for the
Yes,
whole thing, and
exactly.
I'm interested in
I
that too.
can tell you from the initial results that we have, the way it's compiled, that just the tables and the charts, plus the comments, is about 56 pages. There are, I think, 18 pages of comments only.
And that
I
doesn't
think
have to
it-
be printed, it can be
Yeah.
electronic.
Right, I understand that, but in terms of the length of a document you would be looking at, and I think it's important that everybody see the comments because they are very much across the board. There's a lot of different opinions and approaches to what we're looking for.
And we
What-
were going to give you everyone, if that's what you want.
Yeah, and we, in
I
our
personally
last
would like to see
meeting,
every one of them.
we were
Yes.
really adamant about not manipulating the data in any way in terms of the way it's presented, or trying to sort through the results and put the negatives and the positives or whatever that is, because that's too subjective based on whoever is looking at the document. So you want it works in all?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that it does come out, so Google gives you the survey in a summary form, which is just which includes all of the comments, and it generally has like a pie chart showing you the percentage of people that responded, about 230, 233 that responded, and then it will give you, all the comments as well. And
Now,
then it can also be viewed individually.
Does that
too.
include paper copies too? or-
Yes, they are
Yes,
all.
those are entered as
They,
well.
as they came in, I literally took them, sat in front of the computer, and then if someone made a misspelling on the comments, I did the misspelling.
We didn't edit anything,
Yeah.
so misspelling, syntax, language, it's all there.
So those can be scanned in as well, the paper ones, if you
They're
want to have
already
those
there,
reported.
they're already online.
Yes, but the originals could be scanned in if you wanted to have
There's
record of those.
25 or 26, I think approximately, that were mailed back in. All the other 200 plus were online.
I think if we're gonna, I think we're supposed to review the climate action plan every 3 years. And I think we're on that third year right now. So for me, I think getting the surveys reviewed now and then looking at the climate action plan compared to what the residents have showed us or told us would be the best.
Can we
to
include the
move along.
original survey too as part of that package as well? Like the one that you did?
Do we have
Back
copies
whenever.
of that,
I
Dom?
think it's online.
I'd have to go back and look. I think we do, but I can't say, it's been a number of years, I can't say for sure where it is.
We,
think it's on Senate
the student
County,
from
but-
Drexel did the survey, so that's why I don't know if we actually have the copies
Okay.
or we have the summary or not.
Thank you very much.
So I think what I've heard is we at least put them out there, all of them. And if people on council choose to read them, they may. If they don't, they don't have to. But along with that, you will compile all the data into a chart that will make it much easier to read. But I too would like to sort through them and see responses, good or bad. And I think,
So
like
it-
Barbara said, it's transparency.
Yeah, so at this point, we don't need to present the climate action plan.
No, yes, that's right.
Okay.
At least,
Be here for a week.
I think until you do the presentation, Joanne, then after that,
Okay.
would you agree to, is that,
That's fine, that's why we came to you, because we didn't know exactly what it was you wanted.
okay. Well, it seems to make sense to me to do
Okay.
that. In that order.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the,
Let's just run this. I'm kind of looking at the climate action plan off and on, and I noticed that when you get to the end of it, there's a page, I think it's this page, it stops at 65, but the pages go to 68. Is there something missing in that? You have to look at it now. I just want to throw it out there, that I've seen that, and I've looked at different ones that I had put on my computer, during that time, and it's all the same. There's like, the last 2 pages aren't there. It stops at 65.
Maybe it's 56.
Could be
It's 56 of 58. Yeah,
Okay, that might be
I'm
it.
missing the last 2 pages, I think.
I don't know.
I haven't looked at mine lately, so I can't tell you. It is online, it is on the borough website. You
Yeah.
can-
Yes, anybody can look at
Yeah.
it.
I could save it over on your computer. You got it?
Yeah. Okay, well, I think if there's nothing else, I can adjourn the work session. Anything else? Okay, work session is adjourned. I'll see you back here at 7:30.
Awesome.
15.
7:30 PM on Monday, May 15th. I'd like to have a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have the roll call, please, Mr. Holderman? Or, I'm sorry, Ralph.
He does the votes.
I'm thinking, vote. Sorry
all right.
about that.
No problem.
I don't mean to take that from
No,
you.
you're fine. Well, thanks. Mr. Bernier?
Here.
Mr. Brackbill?
Here.
Ms. Cleaton?
Here.
Ms. Stan?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Ms. McKean?
Here.
Ms. Purnell?
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
I'm here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Announcement, additions to the council meeting agenda. In accordance with Act 65 of 2021, if a matter is not on the agenda, council may take official action on it with the following exceptions. Council can act on matters relating to potential or real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through a majority vote. The council must state why the item is being added to the agenda. Council may vote to add an action item or items to the agenda. Is there any action items that council members would like to add to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on. This is public comment period. If there are folks from the audience who would like to make a comment, oral comments regarding any action items listed on this meeting agenda or any comments in general. No deliberations will be entered into by council at this time. Please sign in, come to the podium at the appropriate time, state your name, address, and which item you are speaking about. We'd like to limit the comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment to council? Seeing none, we'll move on. Mr. Stewart, to communications written.
First one is a letter from CATA letting us know that there's a public hearing involving the fall service changes. That public hearing is May 23rd, and it's from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Downsboro Community Room, SCLO Center Region Library, 211 South Allen Street in State College. So just...
Were you able to zoom into that? 'Cause I didn't see.
I didn't see a Zoom link. You can email ahead of time. You can visit, of course, in person to the hearing. But there were some opportunities to send comments in ahead of time if you couldn't make the hearing. But I didn't see any Zoom link. Good.
Any other comments? Okay.
All right, next item is a thank you letter from the Bellefonte Easter Egg Hunt Committee Group of HBI, Historic Bellefonte Incorporated. It's there for your review, but it's a very nice thank you letter.
Yeah.
That's all we have under written communications.
Okay, item 7 is the consent agenda. I'd like a motion. Yes?
I'd like to pull the minutes.
So Randy would like to pull the council meeting minutes of May 1st. Anybody else have an item they'd wish to pull for discussion? If not, I'm asking for a motion and a second to approve the Stover McLaughlin invoice for April of 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Barb.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Deb. All those, roll call vote, Mr. Halderman. Oh, any discussion? Sorry.
Consent doesn't require discussion.
Okay, good. We need a vote?
Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill,
Yes.
Ms. Cleaton,
Yes.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Okay. So now I need a motion and a second to approve the council meeting minutes of May 1st, even though you've pulled them, but I have to have a motion to discuss it.
I'll
So,
make that motion.
okay.
I'll second it.
Thank you,
Dan?
Barb. Thank you, Randy. Discussion?
So I have two corrections, I guess. I found one here a little bit ago, I was told. But under council comments for the good of the order, And Ed Brackville thanked Ed for his trivia questions. I was gonna try to come up with a trivia question, who'd find out who Ed was. But I figured I knew it was Kent, because I just didn't on about letting the set in the seat last time. So Ed needs to be changed to Kent.
Okay.
And 2 lines down, Mr. Stewart's looking for trivia questions. His name spelled wrong. The D needs to be a T.
What page are you on?
Very
Last
last
page.
page. And I have 2 very minor ones at the very beginning. And it's under the list
Hang
of...
on 1 second, you want just,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right under the,
For the good of the order.
council member.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
And then mine is on the very first page, under the list of attendees. And it should say via Zoom next to Shauna's and Kent's names.
Yes, it is there on Zoom.
It is with Shauna, so it needs to be with Kent.
Kent. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Otherwise known as Mr. Ed.
Any others to add? Are you,
That's it.
any others? Okay, with those corrections, we'll need a roll call vote.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to reports. Mr. Mayor, we have 2 proclamations.
2 proclamations.
Yep.
First proclamation is for National Police Week. We have Officer Holt and Officer Knighting with us. If you could please come forward. Where would you like this? Right here. All right, right here.
Front and center.
Yes. Proclamation to designate May 14th through 20th, 2023 as National Police Week. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of Bellefonte Borough play an important role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of our community. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence or disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception, and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas our police department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency which unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Buddy Johnson of the Borough of Bellefonte, do recognize the week of May 14th through 21st, 2022 as National Police Week, and further extend appreciation to our Police Chief Sean Weaver and all law enforcement for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the community they serve. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We also have EMS Week proclamation. Is Mr. Scott Rote here?
Nope. Don't see them.
Okay, so EMS Week proclamation to designate the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine And whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continue education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating emergency medical service weeks. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Buddy Johnson of the Borough of Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim that the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Office of Community Affairs. The Historical Architectural Review Board recommended for approval the following projects, as you see listed in your agenda packet. As presented, I'll read them off to you. We can take item 1 altogether unless somebody wants to pull 1 or 2 or 3.
I do have a correction.
Yeah.
Okay,
Under 114, the second one, rather
Yes.
than 113, that should be 112.
112 instead of 114. Okay, thank you, Randy. 112 North Allegheny
I
Street.
have to abstain from that. from voting on that.
Okay, thanks. So we have 113 East High Street, 112 North Allegheny Street, 141 South Allegheny Street, 114 North Allegheny Street. I'd like to take those all as one.
I'll make a motion as one, but I want to specify more specifically on 2 of them, so that it's in our minutes from the HARB notes.
Okay.
So we'll do them all as one. So
Okay.
on 113 East High Street, the demolition of the rear garage that has been deemed structurally unsound with 2 conditions: that the original bricks be saved and palletized, and secondly, that within 90 days, the applicant come back to HARB with a proposed structure that would enhance the streetscape and give nod to the time period or the original building. Second one has stated 112 North Allegheny, replace the door to the interior stairwell, paint the existing exterior wood siding, and install a stone tile floor at the entry. On the third one, 141 South Allegheny Street, install the HVAC system with the exterior unit with the following conditions: add a black iron screen to surround the HVAC system with a refrigerant line entering the building through the basement, and the exterior unit to be placed further down the side of the building so as to balance it between the 2 sets of windows. And then the placement of the condensation pipe can be approved administratively. And then finally, the business sign at Mini Mart at 114 North Allegheny. And that should also be 112 North Allegheny.
No, it's 114.
Okay.
Because you have the storefront, and then you have the door to the second, third
Oh, okay.
apartments.
It's the same building?
Yeah.
Same building.
So it
Okay.
is 114 now.
Okay,
But
okay.
I'm not involved, that's the mini mart.
So if he, based on what he said that he has to recuse himself, can we split them in 2 for the 113, 141 together, and then the 112 and the 114? Because Randy can't vote for the other, for those 2.
For 112, I can't, but for 114, I can because I'm not part of the.
Business.
Okay, so you do want to pull 114 so that Randy can vote on the other ones, or you
Just
don't?
pull 112 so he
Just
can
pull,
abstain.
just pull 112, and he can vote on all the rest of it.
Okay. I think that's what we thought at first.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
just explained it to me.
Okay, all right, okay, great. Any other questions on the or,
You need a second.
yeah, I need a second to the motion.
I'll second.
Deb?
Deb.
We're splitting it.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Holman.
Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill,
Yes. He has, oh, this one you can't, okay.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes,
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll do 112, North Allegheny Street. I need a motion and a second for that one.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Deb. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Johanna. Any discussion?
I will abstain from this.
Randy is abstaining from this vote?
I'll need that more.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you. On to number 2, zoning. Motion to approve the demolition of the rear garage at 111 East High Street. I'd like a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Randy. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Barbara. Discussion? No discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Mr. Brackville.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton.
Yes.
Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to liaison reports. They're in your packet. Does anybody have questions on the liaison reports that have been submitted? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on the borough manager's report,
Okay?
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Can you give us more details on your discussion with the district justice on April 6th regarding the proposed parking ordinance revisions?
Well, basically, there was some clarifications needed for when someone's cited for a meter expiration. The 2-hour expiration isn't clear the way it's worded in the
Okay.
ordinance.
Okay,
And, well, that was the I guess, the coverage of our conversation.
okay. The second one is, can you tell us what a Safe Walks planning grant is?
Well, it's first of all, it's not being done by the borough, it's being done by Downtown Bellefonte Incorporated, or some volunteers.
Yeah, it's the volunteers. Is it-
Volunteers, so we've been invited to a couple meetings.
Okay,
So it's not our project. All I can tell you is a planning grant looking at the railway spur going from the train station along South Potter Street, which we hope to obtain through CEDACOG at some point.
I thought that's what it was. I was at a meeting last week
Yeah.
about it. They
Yes.
didn't call it the Safe Walks grant, but I kind of
Okay.
figured based on what
Yes.
you said that it was the same thing, so.
Yes,
I understand where it's at now.
Sure.
Okay. Did you want, I had one other comment.
Sure.
The Bellefonte Environmental Advisory Review Board, this report was submitted a month ago. It has been promised for the last 3 packets, and it hasn't been in any of the 3 packets.
yeah, I can clarify that as I did before the meeting. Mr. Holderman sent notes back for minute review approval and never got a comment back.
And then I sent a thing saying that they were fine and to go ahead and put them, and they still didn't get
Well,
those.
I'm only explaining why they weren't in for maybe 2 meetings.
Well, what Alyssa told me the second time was that she was holding them for this meeting, and they would definitely be in this time,
Okay.
so.
I-
That's the only reason I'm mentioning it.
Yes, as I said, we'll look into why they're not in the materials. Don't believe I was included in the conversations, but that wouldn't be, would be ordinary for our administrative assistant to take care of it.
That's it.
Thank you. So we will now move on to current and old business. And the first item on the current and old business in your agenda packet is the Bellefonte Cruise scheduled for June 16th and June 17th of 2023. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the Bellefonte Cruise for June 16th and 17th of 2023.
I'll make that motion, but there's a whole bunch of conditions with it because of the,
Please make the motion.
I'm making the motion and then
Okay.
I would like to add these conditions.
Is there a second to Joanne's motion?
I will second that.
Thank you. Now we have discussion. Yes, Joanne.
Okay, so this amendment would give the Bellefonte Cruise the permission to do it on the cruise on the 16th and 17th of June with PennDOT approval, closing High Street from Allegheny Street to Spring Street from 4:30 p.m. to midnight, and Allegheny Street between Bishop and Howard from 7:30 until midnight on June 16th, and then on June 17th, close Allegheny Street from Lynn Street to Bishop Street from Allegheny Street, including 100, 200, 300 blocks of West High Street and the West Howard Street, which is what they asked for in the letter.
Yes.
Use of the north parking lot for cruise participant uses on Friday and Saturday from noon on Friday through the close of the event on Saturday. Bagging of an unknown number of red metered parking spaces on North Spring Street for handicap parking with approval for these spaces to be administratively done. He asked for several. He never said how many, so I think you all could handle that.
It's the same as he does. In
Yeah, I think we
I
can do
think
this.
I
Yeah,
don't know
but
if we
the-
need this because there's no meters at these red parking spaces. There's nothing to
Well, I
back.
think we put up a handicap sign or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
yes.
I think
The
these are-
limits on this, though, is the borough will not create an ordinance prohibiting pets, bikes, and skateboards from the cruise. That responsibility remains with them. That has been our,
I didn't even see that in there.
they can.
They ask for that every year, Joanne.
Yes, they know,
It's- it's-
and I just want to make sure that this is clear. Hanging signage on the waterfront walkway fencing is also prohibited. They're asking for that again.
No, they want to put it behind the fence.
If it's within 5 feet, that's still our property. If, what we told them the last time.
They have to get ownership
Yeah,
approval.
if they put it on
Yes.
Songer's property, we don't have anything to do with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And then following the borough's policy of hanging banners on the Veterans Bridge, signage would be for a maximum of 2 weeks prior to any event. The banners could be put up between June 2nd and June 17th. So it's a bit shorter time than what he had asked for, but our policies have been for 2 weeks. So,
Any other restrictions or comments?
just those 3.
Okay.
But everything else
I
they
have
asked
a
for.
Question on this. For Saturday, they want High Street, the 100, 200, and 300 block to be blocked off. Is that going to cause some problems? First of all, is it going to cause some problems with the work that's being done on Water Street? And some more problems with getting through town. I do have concerns from one of the businesses in the past the 300 block that no one can get to them. And if you aren't familiar with downtown, there's no way for people to get to their business. And I believe it would also, and that would be Bonfato's. And Dave did ask me about that, because there were problems before, and it's the same thing I would believe with CVS and also with My Buzz Cafe, with no way for people to get to that part of town. And I have not been down that far with the cruise, so I don't even know if they use that for anything.
They
They
have,
do.
They park.
they have
the
the
cars.
cars all
down there.
the way up to the
Okay.
railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So those were concerns that were passed on to me.
Yeah, those, the cruise does use that area if there's enough cars. If it's a rainy day, they're not gonna probably fill that
They
area.
kind of fill that last.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
usually do.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't recall that being used from this side of Water, or that side of Water Street down.
It does,
Or High
not
Street, I'm sorry.
not every year, but it can be used.
I think in the past what happened is if they don't use it, we just open that part of the street back up.
We do. Now, whether you want to approve it, that's up to you. The detour of course, there is a lot of construction going on with the wall project. The official detour will take people up Stony Batter and go on to Bishop and go out to Wilson and come up to Lynn and come down Lynn. That'll get you outside around the downtown specifically. Now you could come down, south or North Spring onto West Lamb, cross the Lamb Street Bridge, and go to CVS that way.
Right. Is that marked? As
There will be
detours?
detour.
Okay.
We help with that effort. We place all the orange detour signs. We actually bolt them onto the signposts ahead of the cruise, a week ahead of time.
It's a good point, though, about the Water Street construction, but
Yeah,
I'm sure people will find their way to the cruise.
yeah.
Even, I was wondering about that too, if it's gonna be marked, because they'll just come up over Standing Battery and find their way around to
Yeah.
get to where they're, I mean, there's other ways to get
Yes.
around there, but
You know, it's
that's
Potter
where all
Street.
that traffic will have to go. They'll have to
Yeah.
come up Stony Battery, and then from there, how they get to.
Yeah, now people could come in off of 550 and into Potter Street that way to CVS or Bonfato's.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, they could come in around the backside, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be
right.
good.
There
That'd be a-
there certainly
That'd
are
be a good intersection
options.
to put something up for people who wouldn't know about the construction.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, ahead of the event, PennDOT puts up big
Yeah.
giant signs
Oh,
that say
yeah.
Congested area.
congested area. That- They won't advertise the cruise for us, but
No.
put up those signs.
They won't put that other side.
I think one time they might have, but, anyway, so I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult if somebody wants to
Yeah,
get the
sure.
Bonfato's, but it's up to council whether you want to do anything different than what's being requested.
Well, I would say it's the 34th annual Bellefonte Cruise. I say we vote to accept it the way that it is and the way that it's always been and move on, but just for the sake of time.
I suspect they're requesting the amount of space there because of the number of entrants who are already
Yeah,
anticipated.
sure.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
They kind of start filling in at the center,
Mhm.
and then they work their way out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, they work their way out, and they work their way out, and they work their way down. So it's kind of like that's the last bit that fills
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
across the bridge there with the way they fill them in.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, Mr. Halloran, please.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Is this for the amendment, or is this for the motion?
That was part of my whole motion.
Yeah, so this is the motion.
It'll be pretty much the standard letter that we send them
Yeah.
every year.
Except for the qualifications or 2
Yeah.
weeks versus 4 weeks.
Yeah, most of that stuff
Yes.
is,
Yes, yes.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
yes,
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
next item is Bellefonte Moose Lodge Rubber Duck Race. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the Bellefonte Moose Lodge Rubber Duck Race on September 10th, 2023.
So moved, Brockville?
I'll second it, Clayton.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Deb. Discussion.
So just want to make sure that this is conditional on them receiving the Fish and Boat Commission. I couldn't tell from their note whether
Yeah.
they'd already,
They've
if
commented.
they'd already gotten that or not. And that we are also allowing them the live radio broadcasting from noon to 3 as they requested.
It says right here, they have, the permit will be obtained from the PS
Mhm.
fishing boat.
So that's why I'm saying condition, because it says will, it doesn't say they already have it. That's the only reason.
I think they've gotten it every year. I don't know why they wouldn't this year.
Yeah,
So,
and that they have the live radio broadcasting as they requested. I don't have a problem with that.
any other comments?
Oh, basically, the park reservation fee would be waived because they are a Bellefonte nonprofit.
Any other comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
2023 paving bid opening. Do we open those now, then do the motion, or, so let's open them now. Then we'll make a motion for staff to select,
Review.
review and select.
There's
Make a
two
recommendation.
bids, Glen Hall Baker and HRI Incorporated. The first one here is Glen Hall Baker. Okay, I'm just going to read off the options for you and the total. Option 1, North Ridge Street, $11,670. Option 2, North McAllister Street, $66,471. Option 3, Cedar Lane, $11,360. Option 4, Hill Street, $21,763. Option 5, Manchester Lane, $49,308. Option 6, Armour Street, $18,793. Option 7, Hale Lane, $15,085. The total is $194,450.
Okay.
The next bid is HRI Incorporated. Option 1, North Ridge Street, $5,034.30. Option 2, North McAllister Street, $66,528.45. Option 3, Cedar Lane, $5,161.65. Option 4, Hill Street, $13,802.10. Option 5, Manchester Lane, $34,630.65. Option 6, Armour Street, $14,593.50. Option 7, Hale Lane, $5,837.40. A total bid of $145,588.05.
Could you repeat the Hale one again?
With the total, Joanne,
The
for the
Hale-
first one?
Hale Street for the second.
Oh, Hale.
$5,837.40.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like a motion and a second to allow staff to review, approve, and select the lowest responsible bid.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Barb.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Rita. Discussion?
I have a question about Manchester Lane.
Sure.
Is that from Spring Street all the way up to Blanchard?
Julie, could you answer that question?
Manchester Lane, is it from Spring Street all the way up to Blanchard?
Or just out, or is it just Spring to Allegheny or Allegheny to Blanchard?
It's actually noted on there a bit, I'm not 100% sure. Should be on the option.
While Dawn's looking at that, is there any other questions?
This work will, for this project will take place in Bellefonte Borough and the following streets: Manchester Lane, from Blanchard Street to Spring Street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I have a question about the storm sewer openings. There is a storm sewer grate that is kind of on a person's property. It's along Manchester Lane. It regularly gets hit. It's got a big piece of concrete over it. And as vehicles don't make a turn and run into it, they're pushing that piece of concrete off and creating a big axle breaker. So I'm wondering if that attention to that can be made during the paving project. It's the house that's right on the corner of Spring and Manchester.
Spring and Manchester.
Spring and Manchester on the downhill side.
We're happy to look at it and try to address what you're talking about, yes.
Makes sense, Deb, to take care of that.
If that's part of the borough's responsibility,
Yeah.
it's a little hazardous.
Mhm. Ralph will
Yep.
have the street supervisor, or Julie, will check it out.
Have a note.
Yes.
Thanks, Deb. Any other comments? Roll call vote. Mr. Halderman, please.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton.
Yes.
Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean. Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Next item is retirement recognition for borough officials and employees. It's an open house. Mark your calendars for Thursday, May 18th, 2023, from 2 to 4 p.m. in council chambers. The next item is Columbia Gas began work on May 10th. The gas line replacement project started at the intersection of North Allegheny Street and East Curtin Street, working their way east on East Curtin Street. Just letting you know, as residents of that area, no, it's happening, so.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, Rita?
Do we know how long Allegheny Street is going to be blocked off for that?
I don't think very long. That's, kind of where they're starting, and they're gonna just keep moving east, but
Okay.
I wouldn't suspect it to be very long.
That's my route to work. I was just curious.
Okay.
I noticed today, Rita, that they're across Allegheny, and they're now on East Curtin, in the first block of East Curtin. So I think they're controlling traffic still on Allegheny until they move east on East Curtin to get beyond that intersection.
Okay.
So, to answer your question, I can't give you a date, but they are across. They are across. It's on my route to work as well. It's temporary inconvenience, permanent improvement, as they say. Okay, the next item. Council will hold its next meeting Wednesday, June 7th, 2023, due to attendance to the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs Annual Conference in Hershey, PA. So if you would mark your calendars of the date change for the first meeting in June. Next item, EV charging stations. I'd like a motion and a second to approve the amendment of the parking ordinance to include metered spaces for EV charging stations. We had this discussion during our work session, and it sounded to me as though the outcome of that was install the meters that are in existence, operate them 24/7 at a rate of $2 per hour for EV charging. If the lot is full and a regular fossil fuel powered vehicle needs a space, they'll have to pay the premium. We hope that that doesn't occur very often, but it could occur.
So moved.
Thank you, Joanne.
Second.
Thank you, Barb. Any discussion? Hearing none, could I have a roll call vote, Mr. Holman, please?
Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill,
Yes.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. McKean, Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thanks, Dawn.
When we do that, can we include changing the signs to make sure people as
Yes.
clearly as possible understand what's going on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you got it.
Yes, which is impossible, but we'll try.
It'll be 3 pages
Oh,
long.
yeah.
Next item, CDBG Vehicle Repair Project Update. I have to be honest, I'm not sure what that is.
That's just an update on the program. There's a memo, a short memo, maybe it was in your memo.
I think it was an email that we
okay.
received an
Here it is.
update from Mitzi, just
Yeah.
letting us know. You probably forgot, but a couple years ago, we had $50,000 of the COVID money that CDBG was trying to, utilize and help serve people that had some problems. The first program, I can't even recall what the first one was, but they weren't able to get rid of any money, so then they came up with a project where they were
Help
helping
people
with
repair their cars.
repair their cars, and they were able to get rid of 22 of the $55,000. So that's pretty much the end of the program.
There's still like $37,006
Yes.
in there.
That'll probably just go back, and it'll either go back to the federal government or it will go back to HUD, and then people will be able to apply for that through different avenues.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Ralph, thanks, Dawn. PennDOT, State Route 150 Wall Project Update. Do you want to
Well,
say a couple things?
I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I sort of hate to say this because it had an early timeline than what has been stated in the past as far as completion of the wall project. So I'll just say it, but please understand it's very tentative. But they're saying they could be done as early as the first week in July with the road back open, all paved, everything done.
Nice.
So hopefully they stay on schedule. But that's probably the big news. There's no indication they're not on schedule.
So far, weather's been good and they're
Yes.
moving right along. Thank you, Ralph.
Sure.
PennDOT, let's see, the wall project. Okay, we'll move on to new business. And the first item on new business is Bellefonte Area School District Parade request for September 28th. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the the parade request for September 28th.
I'll make that motion.
Deb, Barb, thank you.
I'll do the second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Their letter said that they would be notifying residents along Allegheny Street. I think as a courtesy, they really need to do one for every resident whose property will be affected by these road closures, which would include Curtin Street, Bishop Street, and the half blocks on Lynn and Lamb Streets. No, not just the Allegheny Street, which is what they mentioned in their letter. And the second is a question, will this be a rolling road closure or a closure of the entire route for the entire time?
I think for a parade, they close the whole road. It's
For the entire time.
because, I mean, the cars are moved. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, you can't have cars.
Yeah, so it'll be the whole route for the entire time period that the
Yes,
parade
which
is on.
could be a half hour. you know.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. I mean,
Okay, it was just that,
Yes.
I know in some times that they move
Yeah.
the closure
They do, yeah.
as
yes.
the last of the things go.
It could be, I suppose, once the end of the parade goes
Yeah.
by.
So that's
they
what I was
could
just
open,
asking,
but-
do we know that or not? And I would like to make sure that all the residents that are affected by the closure are notified, not just those on Allegheny Street.
Well,
Well, I think the Lamb and Lynn, that's just for people to
That's
set up.
just set up, yeah,
And
they're
then
just,
once they're gone, it's open.
yeah, they line up there on Lynn.
But still, they should be notified out of courtesy, that's all I'm saying.
Have we done that in the past?
No.
It seems
We've
that
had,
this,
in the past with the soapbox derby, we
This-
had
That's
an
several.
all-day event.
that's all day. This
Yeah,
is a parade.
Yeah.
I
okay.
say we do.
I don't know if you guys noticed, I did see a thing from fire departments that they were not doing parades this year.
We heard that, or I heard it.
Yeah, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that affects this parade or not. Sometimes I thought.
All we know is we have a
Yes,
request
yeah,
for
that's all.
for the
That's all.
parade on that
Exactly.
date.
But I'm just saying, if they don't do it, then that's gonna knock some of the parade down as
Yeah,
far as the size of
yes,
it.
yes.
Sure.
Yeah, oh, okay.
We're just being asked to approve the Bellefonte.
That is correct.
Homecoming
Parade,
parade.
yes.
We don't know who's in it, or we can dictate or control who participates. So let's move on to voting for the
Roll call,
homecoming
please.
parade.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes?
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton.
Yes.
Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes, only if residents are notified.
Well, we can't guarantee this, we must just say no.
Well, then no.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the end of the roll call vote?
That's it.
Okay. Herbie's Hometown Loop, August 5th. Looking for a motion and a second to approve Herbie's Hometown Loop on August 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Thank you, Barb. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Johanna. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes?
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton.
Yes.
Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Next item, propose a motion to obligate the remaining ARPA funding to Parkview Heights Stormwater Project. I'm looking for a motion to approve the obligation of remaining ARPA funding to the Parkview Heights Stormwater Project.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Joanne. Discussion? I don't know, does borough staff want to make any comment on this with the ARPA funds?
It's been recommended by the county government that we
Yeah.
go ahead and allocate, doesn't mean it's locked in forever, but the idea is allocate it. The federal government's, I guess, putting up signs that they may go back and look for unallocated funds at some point in the future, so that's what this is about.
Yep. Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes?
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes.
Ms. Stan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you. Last item. Council member comments for the good of the order. Mr. Bernier, can I start with you, please?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Johanna?
Nothing tonight.
Barb?
Don't forget to vote tomorrow.
Okay. Ralph?
Just thank you for coming in early. We started at 6. We're trying to squeeze in the CDBG hearing, so thank you for coming in early tonight.
I have nothing at this time. Mr. Halderman?
Nothing tonight, just happy to be here.
Mr. Mayor?
I have two quick things, if
Great.
I may. Ed? Is that okay? I'm excited. Wednesday, May 24th from 11 to 2 for the Mayor's Community Cookout, sponsored by Giant. So if you're around town, the corner of High and Allegheny, please stop by. Hot dogs, chips, drinks.
Are you cooking?
I believe Chief Weaver has said he wanted to be the head chef, so
Okay.
it'll be a good time, free food for the community. And secondly, back to my earlier proclamations, I just want to once again thank what EMS and police do for our community. It's we hope we never need them, but they're always here for people who are in need, and what a great job, and they're an asset to our community. So I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you to everybody who has a part in that.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
And
you.
just to mention, the mayor won't say it, but with the new baseball field this year, the Bellefonte area high school team won the Mountain League Championship.
They did.
Great.
They did. First time since 2005, I believe, is what we've come up with, that Bellefonte Red Raiders are baseball Mountain League champions.
Good.
It'll be the last Mountain League championship because they're joining the
Yes.
Laurel Highlands next year. So
Oh.
they claimed the last Mountain League championship.
Nice.
Good. Yes, Randy?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the applications that we're using for programs, events.
Special events.
And I think at some point we need to trust the staff who is putting that together. We shouldn't have to be making conditional things for waivers or what's going on with these things. The application itself asks for all this stuff, and we should be able to see that before we even come to this meeting, once it's in the packet. And it just doesn't seem like we can get off of that, adding things to, make it do this, make it do that. It should be ready for us to vote it one way or the other.
I think they're working on that. I think that's in progress, and
Yeah.
I think we're gaining on that. It's, at least what I've seen of the applications.
There's a couple of tweaks. I know sometimes people ask for things that aren't approved like this, or we don't normally approve, like the skateboarding or whatever ordinance. I mean, we know that, if you approve it as stated, we know you don't want us to violate an ordinance, or you're not going to create an ordinance. We would just say the event was approved, minus this is an ordinance about putting up signs or whatever at a certain period of time. And if they ask, we'll say that there's no action items planned for like skateboard or dogs being
I know,
prohibited.
we
or
shouldn't even have to
whatever.
get into that. This application was made to streamline this whole process.
Yeah, that was the
We all
intent.
complained about
Yeah.
before that we got this thing moving. And I'd just like to see it, continue to improve, and so we get past that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Randy. Joanne?
Yeah, a couple of things. Joanna, Shauna, and I received an email last Friday from a constituent who lives on South Potter Street. She raised several concerns about speeding, line of sight, and resulting safety issues for pedestrians and bicyclists. Due to close encounters of these vehicles with us, she made several suggestions for improving the road to increase safety for all. I forwarded it on to Ralph, Don, and Doug, and Ralph came back and said there are a host of issues here, and most have been studied or worked on for the last few years, and we'll need nearly a whole work session to update or refresh everyone. So I would like this to be put on to a work session, because it is relatively dangerous, particularly with the narrow road. Also, that Safe Roads program that I asked about earlier will be, that grant is specifically focusing on that area of town for the grant. So when we do that, Jenny Lynn Schuster is the volunteer who's heading up that project. She should be invited to that work session.
Sure.
Okay, and then my question is, where are we with the opening of the packet for public access on our website?
Opening up, I'm not sure what you said.
The town, we had that webinar last week, and then we met with our own webmaster here
Yes.
the other day, so.
Well, there's a couple of things. Did you say something about the packet?
Opening up the packet on the website.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, the PDF packet of our agenda materials is on our website.
As a single web?
There's an agenda, there's minutes, and then there's the entire packet with attachments.
Okay.
for
I did not
probably-
go to the front page, so if that's where it
It's
is.
probably for 2 meetings now.
Okay,
The entire packet is posted on our website
okay,
for anybody to
Okay,
see
great.
24/7.
thank you.
Now, what we're talking about, we want to do more if we can afford it. We have, very little in our budget, but we want to look at adapting our website for, if you want a set of minutes, if you want the agendas for council, HARB, planning, you just switch yes, and then as they're uploaded, you get those sent to you. There are
That
other,
is nice.
there are other town,
That sounds
borough
really good.
websites that have that feature. We're talking with vendors, including our own vendor, our own outfit that's local that helped us develop our website, to see if we can get that feature and get costs, and so we're in that process. But the packet, just to clarify, is up and on the website just as you members get it.
Great,
So-
thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate particularly this new piece of information that we just got.
No problem. I thought we may have mentioned it, but if we didn't, we're doing it now. So-
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I asked.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, the borough started a street light replacement project in the downtown area. I think last year. I was just wondering what the status is on that. Some of the light fixtures have been upgraded and some of them haven't.
Well, we only upgraded those at the intersections, Deb, on the T. That was really all that we were going to do. We haven't gone out and purchased the bulbs for all the lights. We haven't budgeted for that. I will say that we've been waiting on delivery of the 20 poles for over a year. I think
Okay.
Craig, our electrician, just told us the other day that he anticipates, or they're expected to be in, I think, in early June. So all the ones that are broken, he's got 5 that he has to fix almost immediately. But, that won't be with those new bulbs, it'll be just with what well, I think it will be the new bulbs for those 5 thereafter. When we replace them, that's what we'll replace them with.
Okay. We've been discussing some of the crosswalks downtown, particularly the one at Cherry and South Allegheny, and those 2 light fixtures on either end of that crosswalk have not been upgraded. I just wondered if those had the newer light fixtures on them, would it make that much of a visibility difference?
Yeah.
As I remember, we were only focusing on the ones where the new imprinted crosswalks were, and that was in front of the Face Center
Right,
and the
it's around
YMCA.
around the diamond.
And we didn't discuss.
I think we also did Spring and High, Water and High,
Yes.
and Howard and Allegheny and
Okay.
Bishop and Allegheny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all in all, it was about 20 bulbs, Deb, is my recollection.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't consider doing more, so.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking if those, at that particular intersection, at the alley, if those light fixtures were upgraded, what would the impact be on visibility at the crosswalk before we look at more expensive options. Okay. The other thing is the metal roof on the reservoir building up on the hill is starting to show signs of rust. Is that something that the water authority would address?
Sure. We'll have it taken a look at.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Rita?
I don't have a thing.
Okay.
I got one more thing to
Yes, sir.
pop in because Deb is not in.
Sure.
I've called in now 2 street lights to West Penn Power, and each time I've called them, they were there same day. So I want to give them a kudos for that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I had 2
Wow.
yesterday. And
That's unusual.
there is a number, like a 5-digit number.
Yes.
You give them that number,
Yes, that's the key. If we don't have the number, it doesn't help or slows the process. But if someone gets the number, we're happy to get that to West Bend Power, or
Just call
individuals can do it,
them.
yes.
Yeah.
That actually works great, Randy.
Yes.
The public sometimes really doesn't know that they can make the call.
Yeah.
And a lot of the public doesn't know that they have to go out and get the poll number. Because we get calls at the borough and we have to find out exactly which poll they're talking about, and then we'll get the number.
Yeah, they'll look at the poll, I'll give them the poll number and the 2 addresses on each side of the poll. And then,
Good.
Good.
That's good that they come out that quickly.
Yeah,
I
that's the
sometimes
size.
tell residents sometimes it takes a while.
That's what I say, it usually says 3 to 5 days.
A lot of times they wait until there's several that they make one trip throughout the borough and take care of all of them. So that's great, great. Shauna, do you have anything for the good of council?
Was waiting for Rita.
I didn't have anything.
Oh, I didn't hear you. You're not speaking loud enough today.
Oh, geez.
She was muted.
Just to follow up on Joanne, I do intend at my first opportunity to go out on Potter Street and look at that situation myself. So just want to let, if she's listening, the author of the letter, just let her know that our concerns are being addressed, and I will get out there at my first opportunity. And also, I would like to thank everyone who's present, for your understanding and your patience during this time. I really appreciate it. I don't know how much longer it may go on, but I really appreciate it that you're allowing me to join virtually and do what I have to do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome, Shauna. Just keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joanna, I didn't get a copy of that letter unless I couldn't open it.
It was in the email that I forwarded to him, and when I looked, when you sent me that email earlier, so you didn't, I sent it back and I checked to make sure that was there, so go back and check it
Okay.
again.
All
It
right.
should be there.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Barb.
Second.
Thank you. We're adjourned.